for myself. Oh, I'm gonna sing. Oh yeah, I'm gonna sing when I die. In the Gospel of St. Luke, chapter 7, I'm reading verses 11 through 17. The Gospel of St. Luke, chapter 7, and verses 11 through 17. I want to commend Brother Jeremiah Mosby. Amen. Amen. The wonderful job he does. Amen. Amen. Our young people. Amen. Luke 7, verses 11 through 17. And it came to pass the day after that he went into a city called Nain. And many of his disciples went with him, and much people. Now when he came nigh to the gate of the city, behold, there was a dead man carried out, the only son of his mother, and she was a widow, and much people of the city was with her. And when the Lord saw her, he had compassion on her, and said unto her, Weep not. He came and touched the bier, and they that bare him stood still. And he said, Young man, I say unto thee, arise. And he that was dead sat up and began to speak, and he delivered him to his mother. And there came a fear on all, and they glorified God, saying that a great prophet is risen up among us, that God hath visited his people. And this rumor of him went forth throughout all Judea and throughout all the region round about. Amen. I want to talk about the blessing of having Jesus around. Blessing in having Jesus around. Amen. Thank you, ushers. Amen. The scene of the text takes place at the gate of a city called Nain. As we look at it, the day obviously had begun for a woman in grief and in sorrow. Her heart had been broken. She was sad. The funeral procession was in progress when all of a sudden Jesus stepped into the picture. And when Jesus stepped in, things quickly changed. This woman whose day has started out with grief and sorrow quickly turned into joy and happiness. And it happened because Jesus showed up. It happened because Jesus was around. Brothers and sisters, this text, along with all of the Gospels, are given to us to show us what a blessing it is to have Jesus around. Things change when Jesus is around. The unusual happens when Jesus is around. Burdens are lifted when Jesus is around. That which looks to be impossible turns into the possible when Jesus is around. I'm sure somebody can testify with me that he makes the difference when he is around. Oh, my brothers and sisters, I wish everybody would see the need of having Jesus around. When Jesus around, the difference is made. Look at what happened in the text. Luke tells us that there was a funeral in progress. There was a crowd of mourners with this certain woman whose son had passed away. They were on their way, no doubt, to deposit his remains. This crowd of people that was with this woman was mourning with her. And they were about to go through the gate there of the city of Nain. But yonder comes another crowd. This second crowd that comes through the gate of Nain is led by Jesus. This crowd of folk with Jesus following him. They have seen him do some wonderful things. And they decided that wherever he's going, we're going with him. Luke specifically said in the text that there was a crowd that went with him. Am I right about it? And brothers and sisters, whenever you with Jesus, you in good company. When you're with Jesus, you're gonna learn something. When you're with Jesus, you're gonna see something about the Lord that you've never seen before. It's a good thing to be with Jesus. Look at it. You got two crowds here. You got a crowd of mourners. Then you got a crowd that's with the master. And the text said both crowds met up at the gate of the city. Are y'all listening to me? Yes, both these crowds met up. This was not some coincidence. This was not by chance. But God fixed it so that these two crowds would meet. Lord, brothers and sisters, every crowd needs to see who Jesus is. Every crowd needs to be introduced to Jesus. They met up at the gate of the city called Nain. And oh, the record lets me know, my brothers and sisters, that this woman was in grief. Her heart had been broken. She was sad because her son, her only son, had passed away. Now, since Luke is a stickler for details, Luke lets me know that this is not the first time that death had been to her house. And the reason why I know that is because he described her as a widow. This woman had already lost her husband. And now death has showed up at her residence again and has claimed her son. And Luke tells us that he was a young man. Oh, brothers and sisters, she's lost her only son. Now, I don't know, Luke didn't tell me whether or not she had any daughters. Most of us assume, based upon the text, that this was her only child. And death had come and taken her only child away. May I pause and say to you this morning, if you still have your children, you ought to say, Lord, thank you. You ought to thank God that you still have your children. Don't take having your children for granted. I know many times we think that because we are the parents that we're going to die before our children. But the text reminds us sometimes the children die before the parents. Am I right about it? And so don't just assume just because you're young that death can't touch you. The text said he was a young man. And this young man died. She has lost her son. Oh, my brothers and sisters, he was her only son. This woman has now lost her husband, and now she has lost her only son. How often do you go to your children and grandchildren and just hug them and say, Lord, thank you that I still have my children? Now, if you have lost a child and you still have some left, you ought to thank God for those that you have left. Am I right about it? This woman had lost her only son. She was sad. She was in sorrow. She was in grief. But if you look closely at the text, that ain't the only son you will see in this scene. The truth of the matter is there are two only sons. First of all, there's the woman's only son. But then there is God's only son. There are two only sons in the text. Now, my brothers and sisters, I don't know the name of that woman's only son. I don't know the cause of the death of that woman's only son. We will never get to meet that woman's only son. Are you listening to me? But before you check out of here, you better be sure that you get to know God's only son. Are you praying with me? You may not know how that woman's only son died, but you better know how God's only son died. His death took care of our sin when he died on a hill called Calvary. Am I right about it? And you know, when he died, they buried him. Yeah, but he didn't stay dead, because third day he got up from the dead. He rose again. Now, I don't know the name of that woman's only son, but I'm so glad I do know the name of God's only son. And just in case somebody haven't heard, just in case you haven't got the memo, just in case nobody has texted you or emailed you this information, let me tell you, his name is Jesus. Yes, that's the only name whereby anybody can be saved. That's the only name that can heal from all manner of sickness and disease. Two only sons. Jesus showed up. Oh, brothers and sisters, I'm so glad that Jesus was around. Because Jesus was around, listen, Luke says that when the Lord saw her, are you praying with me? He saw her. Luke says specifically that he saw her. When Jesus saw her, he saw more than others could see. When Jesus saw her, he saw to what extent she was burdened. And you know, sometimes folk can see what might be wrong with you, but they can't see everything that's going on with you. Am I right about it? Yes, the Lord saw her. He saw how heartbroken she was. He saw how grieved she was. He saw how heavy burdened she was. The Lord saw her. And church, that's good news to me, that the Lord is cognizant of where you are. He is aware of what's going on with you. He knows when you're disappointed. He sees you when your heart has been broken. He sees you when people mistreat you. He sees you when things don't work out for you. Am I right about it? And oh, that ought to give you consolation to know that he's always got his eyes on you. Am I right about it? The songwriter said his eye is on the sparrow, and I know he watches me. The Bible said the eyes of the Lord are in every place, beholding the evil and the good. Yes, the Lord saw her. He saw what was beneath the skin. And church, listen, don't you know you can't hide nothing from God? He can see both the smile on your face and the frown in your heart. Am I right about it? Yes, he can see not only how you look on the outside, but he can see what shape you're in on the inside. The Lord saw her. And Luke said the Lord had compassion. Yes, the Lord was moved with compassion. Yes, Jesus couldn't help but feel compassion for this woman. Jesus couldn't help but care about this woman. And that's the wonderful thing about Jesus. He always cares. No matter who you are and what you've done, the Lord cares. Am I right about it? When you feel like nobody cares about you, remember this: Jesus cares. Yes, when you got to go through the storm of life, when it seems like you battling that storm all by yourself, remember Jesus cares. And he has not forsaken you in the midst of your storm. Yes, the Lord had compassion on this woman. Yes, the Lord showed that he was concerned about this woman. And you know, my brothers and sisters, we need more people who will have a heart of compassion. When you see somebody going through something, your heart ought to go out to them. Am I right about it? He had compassion on her, and the Lord went to her and he said to her, weep not. Now some may have a little trouble with this, saying, why did Jesus tell her to stop crying? Don't you see, Lord, she done lost her husband, and now she done lost her only son, and you are telling her, don't cry? Is not crying a part of the human experience? Lord, when you made us, did you not give us all tear ducts so that we would have to cry sometime? Someone has said that crying is the release valve of a distressed heart. This woman's heart is distressed, and she couldn't help but cry. So, Lord, why did you tell her stop crying? Jesus answers by saying, that's not what I'm saying. I'm not condemning crying, because crying is a part of life. Sometimes things will happen in your life that will bring tears to your eyes. Am I right about it? Oh, brothers and sisters, somebody might be here saying, I ain't cried in a long time. That's fine, but just because you ain't cried in a long time don't mean you won't ever cry at all. Certain things can happen in your life that will bring tears to your eyes. Weeping is a part of life. I don't know who started it when they said a man ain't supposed to cry. I stopped by to tell you the Bible ain't never said that, because crying is a part of life. As a matter of fact, Jesus himself wept on 2 or 3 occasions. And so the Lord is saying, I didn't tell her to stop weeping because it's wrong to cry, but I told her to stop crying because I'm about to do something. that's going to turn her crying into shouting. Have I got a witness? Oh, my brothers and my sisters, if anybody know how to take your tears away, Jesus knows how. He knows how to change circumstances so that you will stop crying. He knows how to turn your tears of sorrow into tears of rejoicing. And so the Lord said to her, stop crying. But then the Lord went over and touched the coffin. King James Version said the bier, which was another word for the coffin on which his body laid. Jesus touched that coffin. And when the Lord just touched it, the pallbearers stood still. Are y'all listening to me? Notice he didn't tell them to stop. He didn't say, hold up. All he did was walked over and touched the coffin. Brothers and sisters, I'm trying to hurry up and get through, but this is just another reminder and another demonstration. There's power in the Lord's touch. He didn't have to say a word. All he did was put his hand on the coffin, and the men automatically knew to stand still. Have I got a witness? Oh, Lord have mercy. Don't y'all know, no matter what's going on, no matter what epidemic, pandemic, or any other endemic is going on, all the Lord got to do is just put out his hand, and whatever it is, he can make it stand still. There's power in the Lord's touch. He touched it, and they stood still. And oh, he then gave the second command. He said to the young man, he said, young man, I say to you, arise. Isn't that something? And when Jesus said, young man, arise, the Bible said he that was dead sat up and began to speak. Have I got a witness? I'm through now, my brothers and sisters. But oh, isn't it good to know that God's got a word for you? If there's some things that's died in your life that should be still alive, God can speak a word in your life and bring it back to life. Have I got a witness? God's got a word for you. Yes, the Lord said to the young man, I say unto you, arise. And the Bible said he that was dead sat up and began to speak. Well, I'm trying to tell somebody, you've been laying around too long. It's time for you to get up. Have I got a witness? It's time out for laying around doing nothing. Don't you hear the Lord saying, arise? You need to get up. Get up and get you a job. Get up and go to school. Get up and go to church. Get up and start serving the Lord. Have I got a witness? Get up and help us pay these bills. Have I got a witness? Somebody here might be saying, I wish my children would go to work. I got a word for you. The Lord said, get up. Have I got a witness? Now I got to close. But the text also said, when the young man sat up, that he began to speak. In other words, he said something. Am I right about it? Now Luke didn't give me the details of what the young man said. I don't know what the young man said, but I stopped by to tell you, I want to share some things with you that I said when the Lord did something in my life. I said, Lord, thank you. Thank you for giving me another chance. Thank you for delivering me out of my mess. Thank you for raising me up again. Ain't God all right? Thank you. You made the difference in my life. Yeah, you ought to say something. Ain't God all right? If he done anything for you, you ought to say something. Ain't God all right? If he brought you through, you ought to say something. The Bible said, let the redeemed of the Lord say so. Ain't God all right? Yeah. If he's touched your life, you got something to say. Ain't God all right? And the Bible said, and when everybody saw it, they gave God glory. Ain't that something? It started out with some sad folk, but it ended up with everybody shouting. Ain't God all right? Somebody here, you might have came in burning down. You might have came in empty. You might have came in with a heavy heart. But I got some good news for you. Jesus is around. And since the Lord is around, you ought not leave the same way you came. Ain't God all right? You got something to shout about. Ain't God all right? And it's all because Jesus is around. Ain't God all right? Anybody here know he's still around? Well, there are some people that tried to get rid of him. There are some folk who didn't want him around. You know what they did to him. They nailed his hands to an old rugged cross. He hung, bled, and died. They put him in a borrowed tomb and they sealed the sepulcher. But the Bible says